bumper going on. We're going to talk about midlife crises. I'm not in a midlife crisis. All right, guys, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, I got a birthday coming up. Hey, happy birthday to me. All right, my birthday's not till Sunday, so you guys still have some time to give me presents. But it's no surprise. I'm not in my 20s. I was really hesitant on videotaping my radio shows because I've been pretending to be 29. A real blonde, skinny, right? And so, people kind of know the truth. So, truth is, I'm in my 40s. And with this next birthday, I am like deep into my 40s. I mean, I'm not like I know I look like I'm in my 30s. And no. I mean, I am, whenever I hang out with my students, they all get carded. And, they're like, is your mom paying? And I'm like, Mom, I'm not old enough to be their mom. Actually, I think I am. So anyway, I'm at risk for a midlife crisis. I think a lot of us are. And we talk about midlife crises as a bad thing. And the reason why we talk about midlife crises as a bad thing is because in TV, right, somebody will cheat on their wife and, trade their wife in for like a 20-year-old, real blonde who's size 2 or whatever, right? Or they'll hawk the house and the life savings and buy a Lamborghini. And mind you, I would love a Lamborghini, okay? So I think, however, a midlife crisis, but we can't call it a midlife crisis. If we call it a midlife reboot, is really healthy. I think it is probably the way to approach aging. And so there's a fine line between having a midlife crisis and a midlife reboot. So a midlife crisis, how do you identify if you or your loved one or whatever is in a midlife crisis? Okay, well, that's kind of tricky. So one is they'll probably look depressed. Okay, they'll probably always talk about their age. I mean, now we women talk about our ages, okay, but that doesn't mean we're in a midlife crisis. It's just, it's just because we're trying to perpetuate a lie. I'm 32. 32. So I talk about being in my 30s all the time, not because I'm in a crisis, it's because I'm trying to, convince everybody and brainwash them into thinking I'm in my 30s. But they seem depressed. They seem forlorn, right? They seem kind of bored. They seem restless. They don't seem happy. They may start to do rash things. They may start to all of a sudden dress younger, try to look younger. And again, that we're going to be kind of coming into the lines of the reboot, okay? Crisis is not a bad word entirely yet, okay? But if somebody's going through a midlife crisis, they may just do a complete 180 with everything. However, what I'm seeing with a lot of my friends and a lot of people on Facebook and listeners and stuff like that is a lot of people are hitting the gym and they are going from couch potato to cut. So you hear people go, yeah, he's having a midlife crisis. No, he's not. He's rebooting. I think going into the gym and getting your body back is healthy. That's a reboot. Who gives a crap if you're going to call it a midlife crisis? All right. I've always wanted to be blonde. Okay. So I went to Jerry at the Jerry Lambert Experience. I go, make me platinum. And he's like, well, that's easy because he got some gray. I was like, okay, well, good. Glad to help make the process easier. But, he was awesome. He didn't bring up the grays. He knows better because I'm like, oh, I got gray. You lie. You go see an eye doctor. So, I want to be blonde. I became blonde. You're supposed to, when you hit your midlife, and why do we have a midlife crisis? Well, it's because we think we're halfway through our life expectancy. In the 70s, you would hit a midlife crisis in your 30s. Now you start to hit a midlife crisis in your 40s or your 50s. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, what did I not do? My whole life was have to. I went to school, then I got a job, then I had a family, then I had kids. And so you lost yourself in things you had to do saying, well, later I'm going to do this. Later I'm going to go to Hawaii. Or I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to make an album. I'll do that later. And then all of a sudden later comes and you're like, I didn't do any of that. And now I'm older. And that's where psychologically things start to sink in. So to heck with that, do it. One of my friends, Elanite, and I had a conversation years ago and she goes, well, what do you want to do? And I go, I've always wanted to be in show business. And she's like, well, do that. I go, I'm too old. I'm in my 30s. And she's like, no, you're not. If you want to be in show business, whether it's radio, TV, whatever, you do it. And she inspired me to just do. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was a reboot. You know, I've always wanted to write a book. So I've written 3. One with my mom. I'm actually working on my 4th book with Dr. Nicholas Kleekes, who is like one of my favorite people ever. And I want to write a book. We do it. Write a book. You know, I want to get my album out. You know, an off-key Christmas. I'm going to work on that, you know, because I sing off-key, so it's really easy to do. So I'm working on that. You know, I always wanted to go to Europe. I had always wanted to go to Europe. And I'm like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't have the time. Well, a couple years ago, we kind of saw that, you know, going to Europe was kind of cheaper than going to Hawaii or going to, you know, Maine. And once you're in Europe, you just take trains. And I'm like, this is doable. So your midlife crisis can turn into a reboot. Where you go wrong is if you hurt others. So cheating on your spouse, okay, that's not a reboot. That is, you know, going berserk and, you know, doing a suicide mission with the marriage. No. Like I said, you know, filing for bankruptcy so you can buy a Lamborghini. No. But make realistic goals. Don't, when you hit your midlife, go, okay, well, I want to be rich. And because I'm not rich, I'm upset. Well, okay, look, we all want to be rich. Sorry, not going to happen. All right. But if there is something you've always wanted, like a new iPhone or something, okay, well, then work towards that. Smaller goals. If you've always wanted to do a trip, figure out how to make that happen. I'm hearing that there's a new airline, right, that's supposed to be going to Paris. Jerry told me this. I think it's like $99 introductory tickets. Then take advantage of that. It's supposed to be a good airline, okay? Take advantage. Just study. Rack up miles. You know, there are things you could do to do the impossible. I know people that want to jump out of a plane. You could do that now. You could jump out of a plane. I mean, you know, with a parachute. Don't, like, kill yourself. But, you know, life is too short. We get these midlife crises because we realize that the end is eventually going to come. Whether we see our friends die or whatever, well, to heck with that. We're living now. So rather than worrying about the inevitable, enjoy today, live now, have fun. You know what? Listen to more talk radio. That should be on your bucket list.